Hello everyone, welcome! And finally the new expansion was revealed with the name Rise of the Shadows. It is like an evil themed expansion apparently, even though they announced, I think with Whispers, not with the Whispers of the Old Gods, but with Witchwood, they said that's like the darkest or as dark as they want to go with an expansion, but yeah, they bring back the darkness. So let's jump right forward to those 8 reveal cards. Those are pretty exciting ones. I did read some Q&A with Peter Wellen, one of the developers from Hearthstone, and it will be again 2 class legendaries per class. So if you start off with Kalecgos, similar name to Malygos, it's a dragon. It's a mage class legendary, and there will be just one more class legendary. So it's good that, so basically how good a class legendary is has a huge impact on the playability of the class, I would say. And having like bad class legendaries is really bad, right? So because usually the class legendaries are the strongest cards of the set, usually. So let's start with Kalecgos. It is a 10 mana 4/12 mage legendary dragon. So one of the 2 mage class legendaries. Your first spell each turn costs 0. So it's an ongoing effect. If he survives, every turn the first spell you cast costs 0, which is huge. Because mage, especially big spell mage, plays a lot of expensive spells, and all of them costing 0 is like huge for tempo. Battlecry discover a spell, so when he comes into play you get to immediately discover a spell, and so even if you have 0 spells in your hand you get to cast it immediately for 0 mana. So you can choose one out of 3 spells, and yeah, you can just cast it immediately if you want, which is huge. It's a little bit of RNG, so if you're behind on board, you play him, you kind of want a board clear and cast it immediately, but it's still great. So let's say you are behind against aggro and you play him and you get a flame strike, so you will not just clear the board, but you will also have a 4/12 on the board. And if you just think about the value, let's assume we get a flame strike, that will be pretty much a 0 mana flame strike or a 7 mana flame strike, and you pay 3 mana for a 4/12 in the same card, which is ridiculous. So in terms of value, this card is insane. And this card has an ongoing effect, and it has a dragon tag. So Dragon Mage has not really been a thing yet. I know that Kibla has tried Dragon Mage quite a bit for fun, but it wasn't like a serious archetype. We will still have quite a few dragons left after the standard rotation, and looks like we're getting more dragons, so I can very well see, especially with the Death Knights rotating out, that the Dragon Big Spell Mage, depending on what cards we have left, we don't have Jaina anymore, which is a big deal because right now all Control Mage has is Jaina, and the only reason to play Control Mage in the first place is Jaina. So that card by itself will not make Mage playable, but if we get more support and other Death Knights rotating out, who knows how the meta will look like. Maybe it will be enough. Definitely by itself a very powerful card, and I hope Control Mage will be playable so I can play this card. This cover is a great RNG effect because it gives you decision making, which is nice. Just in general, the community is very open about the discover mechanic. Stonehill Defender is one of the favorite cards of most people, just because it's very cool. It does something nice whenever you play it, and then you get more value out of it. It's just a great card to play, a lot of fun, and I think Kalecgos will be one of those cards that will be very fun to play, and yeah, powerful effect. Nice card. The next one is Chef Nomi. It is the Rogue class legendary, one of the two, like I mentioned. It has a 7 mana 6/6 battlecry. If your deck is empty, summon 6 6/6s Ceasefire Elementals. So the first thing that comes to mind is the combo with Myra's Unstable Element. You draw your entire deck, you have a full hand, then you play this guy and you have a full board. Pretty neat, pretty skill intensive. I think such cards with high risk, high reward that require setup are great. It's obviously extremely powerful if you get a full board of 6/6s, because 6/6s are pretty difficult to clear. Like a warrior can't, especially with Barco rotating out, Hero Power Reckless Flurry, or you can't even sheer block Reckless Flurry. 6/6s are huge, but it obviously has the huge downside. A 7 mana 6/6 standalone is bad, and a 7 mana 6/6, yeah, it's just expensive and slow. So without the effect, it's pretty bad. But also, it is kind of like an all-in card. So you drew your entire deck after Myra's Unstable Element, and you could also discard this card with the element. And yeah, it definitely requires some luck and some setup and some planning. And if the opponent does have a board clear, you're out of cards, right? So you basically have only a few turns left. I don't think it's broken, but it seems playable. Very similar to Myra's Unstable Element. A lot of people, when the card was announced, were like doubting, will this card see play? Is it good enough? As it turns out, it is good enough. And I can see this card definitely seeing some play for sure. Next card is the Warlock class legendary Archvillain Rafam. It's funny because I call all the Archbishops in the game Rafam anyway, so nice to have an actual Rafam back in the game. So a Rafam reprint in a sense, but not really, but Rafam is coming back, which is kind of cool. I did like Rafam as a card. And yeah, it is a 7 mana 7/8 taunt, which is pretty neat. Especially having good 7 mana cards is very nice, because this is like the mana slot we had the fewest good cards, I feel like, throughout the history over the last 5 years. And yeah, having good 7 mana cards is nice. And the battle cry is to replace your hand and deck with legendary minions. So it's insane in terms of value, but it's also a big drawback at the same time. It's kind of like the monkey, the monkey, the Ungoro monkey that you used to play in Warrior. That replaces your hand and deck with legendaries, but it doesn't require the crazy setup that shuffles a monkey in your deck, and then you have to play it and so forth. You play this card, everything is a legendary. So you wanna hold on to this card for as long as possible usually, because you lose all your board clears. Like, just having a lot of legendary minions that could also be bad is not always good. So this is kind of like a new late game win condition card for control warlocks, which is cool. The little taunt on it definitely matters a lot, so you can get this card out. I think it's a cool card for sure, especially with Gul'dan rotating out. And yeah, it has a drawback. It's not just it's not as crazy as you might think, like wow, just only legendaries left. You still have to get to a point where it's safe to play him, but the effect definitely matters. And yeah, it's a very exciting effect. I think it's very fun to play. Obviously you can super crazy high roll, you can get all the crazy legendaries, but there's also quite a few bad ones. So it will definitely see play with Gul'dan rotating out if Control Warlock or any type of slow Warlock is good enough. So all these cards so far will see play with the DKs rotating out. If they would stay in the game, not so much. There will be 3 Death Knights staying in the game, or hero cards, with Dr. Boom, Hagata and Zul'jin, but they don't... I mean, we will see, because they can provide infinite value, except Zul'jin maybe not, but even with Double Dire Frenzy, we gotta see. Like, I hope those will not be oppressive. When all other DKs or hero cards rotate out, the remaining ones are significantly stronger than before, but they were weaker compared to other Death Knight cards or hero cards. So let's hope that cards like Archvillain Rafam can contest these remaining Death Knight cards. So it will be very exciting to see if this is good enough. If not with this rotation, then maybe with further expansions. This card will definitely see play over time. Maybe not in the upcoming expansion because Warlock is losing a lot of the cards and is not gaining enough new cards, but throughout the next year for sure. Forest 8, the first card with the new mechanic Twin Spell. Twin Spell means you can cast this card twice if you have the mana, so you can use it later or in the same turn if you have enough mana. It is an 8 mana summon 5 2/2 trance spell, which is pretty nice to be honest, because you spend one card to get a full board. But that you can cast this card twice makes it pretty insane, to be honest. I think we will get back an old kind of token druid. For 10 mana you can combine this with Power of the Wild, then you have a bunch of free frees. But this card has like insane amount of resources. Like if you combine this with Savage Roar, which is still a very powerful card, you can just kill your opponent if the opponent has no answer. And if you play double Forest 8, you can have like four boards full of treants, and you will play other cards that flood the board. So I think this card will definitely be playable. Druid got nerfed so much that I hope the Druid will not be as oppressive as before. Usually, like if people just go greedy, you know, play like these new greedy control decks with like Control Mage and greedy Rogue or greedy Warlock or whatever, then a combo Druid deck with Forest 8 would just, you know, farm them or counter them, like history has shown. It's better to just kill your opponent than from 30 HP than, you know, just play big dudes. Else everyone would be playing cards like Cairn. And yeah, we will see. It definitely seems like a card that will make some sort of combo druid playable. So all cards so far seem playable. Forbidden Words. It's a 0 mana card for priests. Spend all your mana, destroy a minion with that much attack or less. So finally, they designed a card for priests to be able to kill 4 attack minions in a very interesting way. So if you face a Twilight Drake, a 4/10 Twilight Drake, you can spend 4 mana to kill it, which is great. Like, genius design. It's very smart design. Very, very good card. Not broken, because you have to spend all your mana, always, when you use this card. And at 8 mana, if you want to kill a Mountain Giant, you have to spend 8 mana. So not crazy, but killing cards like Twilight Drake for 4 mana is really good. Just a fantastic card, I would say. Very good card, very good design. Makes me optimistic about the expansion. Very good card. Evil Miscreant is a rogue class card. Combo, add 2 random lackeys to your hand. All the lackeys are 1/1s with different kind of effects, like Rush, Divine Shield. And they announced also that they will add more lackeys throughout further expansions, so that's quite exciting. So you can get a lot of different lackeys, and they're not broken because, you know, they're going away from the charge, and they give them Rush instead. A 3 mana 1/5 with a bunch of Jabrozis that can be utilized as combo activators for Rogue. You know, just anti-aggro tool. It's just a fantastic card. I think this card will be a lot of fun to play, and a favorite card for a lot of players. Again, I think this is great card design. It also requires to be comboed to get the lackeys. I think this is not oppressive because you have to spend the mana to utilize the lackeys. I think this is a healthy RNG as well. It's just a fantastic card design. Fantastic card, just thumbs up. So all cards so far seem great. The next one is a neutral card, Spellward Jeweler. It's a 3 mana 3/4, but your hero can't be targeted by spells or hero powers until your next turn. 3 mana 3/4 is playable if you have some sort of effect. Even like a 3 mana 3/3 is playable if you have some sort of good effect. Your hero can be targeted by spells or hero powers. Interesting design. It's a counterplay card. Usually neutrals are mostly useless. But you can't be targeted by hero powers or spells. Can save you against like Freeze Mage, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's like an anti-combo card. Like you can't get bursted down by, I don't know, like Kalecgos drew it in one turn, but it's only for one turn. Interesting effect, cool effect. Like if you make already neutrals, give them like some niche useful effect, so you can maybe use them as a sideboard card. Especially now with the specialist format announced, you want to have cool sideboard cards or useful sideboard cards, which makes sense. This looks like a sideboard card for like some niche combo decks that have to target your face. Obviously doesn't help against Mind Blast, but it does help against Smite. Also blocks off hero powers. Pretty neat. Interesting effect for sure. Hakata's Scheme. Probably my favorite card from DOS 8 after the Kalecgos. It's because it's a Shaman card and it upgrades each turn it is in your hand. So if you draw this card, it will deal 1 damage to all minions. No overload, thank god. But if it stays in your hand for 2 turns or for another turn, then it will deal 2 damage to all minions. It's still bad. It's a 4-mana consecration, like a bad consecration because it kills your own stuff. Shaman usually has stuff on his own board. But as soon as it becomes a 5-mana deal 3 damage to everything, then it's already an excavated evil. And that is pretty sweet. Is there like a limit to how many turns? If there's no limit to this card is absolutely insane. Like if it goes up to like 20 damage AoE. I think there's no limit to it. Else it would say like upgrade this card 2 times or 3 times or whatever. So if it can just stack forever, it's an insanely powerful card. And the main thing Shaman was really lacking is good board clears. And this is a pretty good board clear. No overload. Pretty excited about all these 8 cards. All of them are playable. I don't know if they specifically nitpicked 8 very good cards to reveal, but all of these cards are great. I was really looking forward to this particular expansion because it will set the tone for the overall game balance for a very long time, especially with the expansions that are staying still in the game. Yeah, so far I'm pretty impressed.